guys, I'm going to say it, another AGSW. Now, AGS just released the August 28th patch notes, which we knew were going to be the nerfs to the Legion raids, Akkan, Echidna, and Thaemine, right? But before we even get into that, here is the biggest win ever. And this has been something we've been asking for so long, which is players can now use an event power pass without having trusted status. Oh my God. This has been such a big issue for such a long time, where players who are new to the game couldn't actually use their power passes on their characters because they didn't have trusted status. Now, unfortunately, they're not getting rid of trusted status, but what they're doing is just making it so that people can use their power pass when they don't have trusted status, which to me was probably the biggest problem with this issue. So while it is unfortunate they're not getting rid of it, it is a huge plus and huge win that they are getting rid of the fact that you need trusted to use the power pass at all. If you were a newer player who was not able to use the power pass because you weren't trusted, finally you will be able to do that. And I am so happy about that. But we are going to be going over the rest of the patch notes, which is going to be talking about the nerfs to these Legion raids, Akkan, Echidna, and Thaemine. I find it interesting that they put Echidna second, even though Thaemine came before Echidna, but whatever. Okay, so Akkan updates, right? So they made changes to normal mode and solo mode, which, okay, cool, I appreciate that, but I do kind of wish that they made these changes to hard mode too, because personally I think that hard mode was a lot more jail than normal mode, but we'll just go into these one by one. So lower the damage dealt to players during safe zone mechanic when the boss throws a spear, which is this mechanic, right? When the boss throws a spear and then you have to go into the little thing right here. That is the mechanic that they are talking about. So when you're taking a little tick damage there, it's less HP that's drained. Second one is they've reduced the amount of HP the boss recovers when failed shield destruction, which is this mechanic right here, where he goes into this little cocoon and you have to like go and attack him while he gets shields. This mechanic, the HP he recovers is reduced significantly when you don't break the shield. He also has a corrosion and plague wound debuff, like the one that you get when you have two of the different colored orbs on top of you, or when you're standing next to a player with a different color orb. And also there's another one that just gives you damage over time. Those ones, the effects are lowered, which is great. The boss does less damage to players after imprisoning them, which is this mechanic right here, where he freezes you and then he does like a big spear thrust that usually just one hit KOs you. That mechanic is going to be doing less damage to you overall and not really one hit KOing you anymore. And then for normal mode, the spear part again, sometimes he throws one or two of these spears. Now they only throw one. And then the stagger check, which is this one right here, where he goes into the stagger check and you have to go and purify the little debuff that you have on your bar. That one now is changed so that when you're doing this, you don't have as big of a stagger check during that, which is great. Now for gate 2, and this is for normal mode and solo mode, you get less meter when you're hit by a con. Also the hiding in the shadows mechanic, this one right here where you have to hide behind him, you no longer get one shot if you don't do this correctly. You only take a big amount of damage. And I think in the Chinese version, which is where all these changes came from, you take more damage each time. I don't know if they're going to be doing that. So it says increased damage for every time. I'm not sure if that's exactly what it means, but I would assume so. And then this one right here in the lantern relay. So basically when you're doing the football mechanic, the little green boys don't really fear you as much for as long. And then paralysis effect of the 0 HP mechanic. I'm not entirely sure what that means, but I'm assuming that is when the tentacles spawn during the 0 bar, they like slap you sometimes and give you like a little bit of knockback effect. I think that is removed. So I don't know, nice little changes, I guess. And then again, when a con disappears during his scythe swing, it no longer one-shot. So this part right here, when he disappears, and it does this one-shot scythe. Well, it's not really one-shot, it just does a lot of damage. It does a lot less damage now, basically. Now, it does say that when a player gets hit by this attack twice, they receive critical damage. So I don't know if that means that they die or if it's just bigger damage. But either way, just don't get hit by this twice. And it also says the counterattacks for the 0 bar mechanic is also going to be made easier. And these two are for normal mode only. Now, for Gate 3, in solo mode and normal mode, they have greatly decreased the amount of damage that the black lasers do to you. So this part right here during the statues, the black lasers will shoot out of certain statues, and that damage that you take when you're getting hit by that is going to be reduced massively, which I guess they're not reducing the amount of damage that the white lasers did to you, which never really did that much to you, which, you know, again, is going to be nice. And then for the counterattacks, they're improving the windows again. And then for normal mode, they decrease the amount of meter that you get when getting hit by a con. They also made it so that the 4 laser stagger, this part right here, the guillotines that drop, they don't do as much damage anymore, which is very nice. A lot of people were getting hit by these little guillotines right here, and now these don't do as much damage. It's not the big one that lands in hard, but it's the small ones. And then now the slow debuff for the purple line is going to be reduced, which is going to be this one right here, this little purple line. When you get slowed by touching it, it's going to be reduced, which great. And then it says change some patterns to deal paralysis instead of pushed. I'm not entirely sure what that means, but I think it's when you get hit by these little red AoEs that popped out. I think you get knocked over, but now instead you just get pushed back. You get a little paralysis for that. And then the plague spores, the little poops on the ground, make it so that they don't spawn as quickly, which is great for the janitor. And then the curse mechanic, which is the one where you get black, blue, or red. The black curse no longer appears. So this one where you have to go behind the boss and follow the back, that no longer appears anymore. And then again, the scythe mechanic when he disappears, and it's called the peekaboo pattern. I'm not sure why they called it that. So this one no longer kills player in one swing again. And then this change is actually really nice. When players turn into zombies, when they die, right, and get resurrected, they're no longer, you know, as beefy and tanky. Now next is going to be the Echidna changes, which are very, very exciting. I think a lot of people have been asking for these, and it's great that it's coming. They're going to be changed for both normal mode and hard mode, which I appreciate. So the first one right here in Gate 1. Now, there are a couple of these that I'm not really sure about, and if you guys know about them, let me know down in the comment section below. But the first one is going to be decreasing the amount of damage that the dragon does when it flies overhead. So this pattern right here, when the dragon has a little shadow and then like flame breaths you and like basically one-shots you all the time, you no longer take as much damage from that. And also, in addition to that, you don't get knocked over, which is great. Now, next one. This is one that I don't really know about. The Demon Legion invades 2 times instead of 3. I'm not sure what that is. Probably at some point during the fight, like enemies, mobs drop. I guess that's going to be less. Okay, cool. And then now the range that you can detect the sensor is going to be increased, which is amazing. It's this part right here when you get tethered and you have to look for these little red or black sensors. You can now see this from much further, which I appreciate because I've been in a couple parties where that has been an issue of looking for it. Now, in hard mode, there was a part where you had to pick up the sensor and hold on to it and put it back before 100 stacks or else you get killed, basically. Now, when you do that, you actually have a little red ring around you instead of having no real appearance that you have it. They were saying that this is now a way to make it so that's easier to see who has the sensor, to make it sure that, like, you know, there's no miscommunication with like, oh, or did you grab the sensor? Did you not grab the sensor? Things like that. So this is a nice little change as well. Now for Gate 2, this is where the majority of the changes and the important changes are gonna be. So this first thing in both normal mode and hard mode, Whispers of Seduction and Dominance of Seduction debuffs are going to be changed to where the Whispers of Seduction is going to be from 60 seconds to 30 seconds. I'm not entirely sure what this is. I think maybe it's how long they're turned for, but I'm not sure. The only reason why I'm talking about them getting turned and not like the little debuffs that you get above your head is because it also says right here that the allied forces skill no longer hit your character, the basic attacks, like when you summon a Xena and like the little, you know, little spears come down, or like when you summon Infernia, when he comes and just smacks you, like it no longer hits you, which is great, right? A lot of times you get turned and you just get one shot by the NPC. But that no longer happens. But that's why I don't think that this is the little debuff that appears over your head when you get hit. I think it's just when you get turned. But let me know if you guys know for sure. Next one is going to be the Petrification. It's going to be reduced in terms of its kind of durability. You know, when you are going to counter the mirrors and you miss and then you get petrified, this part, the little purple bar that you get, it's going to be reduced in terms of the durability of it, so you can get freed from it quicker. Now, also, when you don't get freed, you don't die anymore, which is very nice. And then when failing the patterns of having it hit the energy sphere, so basically that is this one right here. Right now, when you fail this one time, the raid wipes. So basically when the little energy sphere flies towards you, if it doesn't hit Big Echidna, or not Big Echidna, Echidna, it fails and wipes the raid, right? But now you get one chance to fail it, which, you know, I don't know. I don't think people were failing this very often anyways. So it's a nice change, but not really too big of a deal. And then this part right here, increase the cycle timing when fly traps are created. I'm not entirely sure what this is. Maybe it's like when the fly traps are, you know, when you're running towards a fly trap, right? Maybe it's giving you more timing for that, or maybe it's like when you finish the fly trap mechanic, sometimes you have to stay until the fly trap completely disappears. And then if you walk out, the fly traps get created again. I'm not entirely sure what this is, but we'll see when the game goes live with this change. Now, the amount of damage from the patterns where players should look or not look at the boss during the Giant Echidna pattern, you decrease the amount of damage for that. That's basically this mechanic right here. When it's like look away or look at her, decrease the amount of damage you take from that. And then this part right here with the clash change, you no longer die when you fail the clash. I wonder how much damage this is going to do, because it says it does massive damage instead, but I would assume it's probably close to one shot still. So still, don't fail these clashes. Now, the last thing here for normal and hard mode is that when the snakes spawn, now the snakes, when they're, you know, the one where they're walking towards Echidna and you have to not look at her, the amount of attacks to kill the snakes has been decreased, and additionally the red snakes don't come out anymore. Now, most of you probably haven't seen the red snakes, but if you watch this ATK video here, he says that these red snakes appear when you don't kill the black snake. I'm not really sure what the black snakes are, but honestly, I've never seen this before, so I'm assuming most of you guys probably haven't seen this either. But either way, this guy doesn't spawn anymore. Apparently this had like some sort of Medusa effect on it, so easier, but again, I don't think anybody really has seen it. At least I haven't. Now, hard mode, these are big changes again. So now hard mode is like normal mode when it comes to the mirrors. You can actually stack on top of each other. Now, granted, you can't be so close, because if you're too close, you get, you know, seduced. But you can now be on the same tile together, and you won't create a flower, which is nice. And then now when during zero mech, during the pattern where you have to get caught and grabbed, you no longer have to be the only one that calls it out. You see this part right here. When you get grabbed, you no longer have to be the one that calls it out. Everybody can actually see the patterns there, which is great. It's a nice little change. I think personally, as the person getting grabbed a lot, I think a lot of people, you know, can't really do it that well because they can't really call out the directions in the right order. But I always volunteer to get grabbed. I always feel like I'm very stressed during that part, because if I call it in the wrong order, I feel like some people will miss their counters or counter the wrong one. So I always have to like, oh my gosh, I need to call in the right order. So that is very nice. And then the silence debuff, when having the jump rope right here, when you're silenced, it's basically going to disappear quicker, which is a nice change, I guess. But that's about it for hard mode and normal mode Echidna, which again, these changes are very, very appreciated. And then lastly, we have the Thaemine Changes. And for starting first with Gate 1, the Dark Worshipper, when it inflicts a status effect and it grabs a player, the status effect attack will no longer affect players with status immunity. I'm not entirely sure what this is. I tried to look at a ton of the grab mechanics through these ATK and memo guides, and I couldn't find it. So let me know down in the comment section below if you do know what this is, but it is a nerf, which is nice for anybody who's like maybe GT that is in Z mode and it just randomly gets grabbed. But yeah, that'll be nice. And then in hard mode, the big eye pattern right here, basically when he spawns this eye, if you are able to burst this boss down to 0 before this spawns, it is now like normal where you can skip it, which is always appreciated. And then now in Gate 2, I'm not sure what this is either, when apparently the boss recovered HP during certain mechanics, so apparently that doesn't happen anymore. And then Gate 3, we already got the nerfed clashes, and then also they increased the number of safe zones in the combat area during the little red part where he creates the safe zones, this part. So there's more safe zones now, which is very appreciated. Like, I feel like this did definitely catch a lot of people off guard or mess a lot of people up, and it was a cause of a lot of deaths. And then this one right here, I couldn't really find a video of this attack pattern, but it's basically when he slams the sword one way and then turns around and slams it the other way. This is now, I guess the AoE is nerfed, so players don't take damage when you're standing behind Thaemine. So thank goodness for my class, because that happened quite a bit, because I'm a striker and I'm a melee class, so that happens. But that is about it. That covers all of the nerfs from this patch. And again, big W for this part right here. The event power pass are now given to players who are not trusted. So again, if you are looking to play Lost Ark and you weren't able to get a power pass because you weren't trusted, now you can after this patch. Thank goodness. But that's about it. I don't know. I guess last words is that Matt Houston W, I guess. Ever since the guys come in, there have been so many positive changes to the game. I don't know. Again, I'm not sure if he's the one responsible for all these changes, or if these were going to come regardless if Subin Park was here or not. But what I can say is ever since he has come, there have been so many positive changes, and at the very least, the game hasn't gone in a negative direction since he comes. So Matt Houston, if you're watching this, which you're probably not, give big thumbs up to you. Thank you so much for all the hard work. But yeah, that's about it, guys. Let me know down in the comment section below what you think of this update. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, please remember to hit the like button, hit the sub button, ring the bell for notification. And also, I stream every single day at twitch.tv/MisoXShiru. Though recently I am kind of on a World of Warcraft kind of phase. I've never played World of Warcraft before, so I wanted to try it out. But if you want to see me on stream, please come hang out. And if not, hopefully I see y'all on the next video. All right, guys, peace out.